There's a lot of buzz around the automotive industry these days about platform sharing and production efficiencies, electrified this and turbocharged small displacement that. You know what you don't hear a lot of? An outrageous, naturally aspirated, hand-built V8 that revs to the heavens, gets used in just a single vehicle, and shrieks like a banshee. But that's exactly what the 2024 Corvette Z06 is packing, and it's a beast. The Z06 nameplate goes back to the early 1960s as an experiment in a track attack Corvette. Since then, it's been used on the C5, C6, and most recently, the C7 generation Vette. Given that history, the easiest path for the C8 Z06 would have been simply turning up the wick on the supercharged 6.2-liter V8 used in the prior generation. Thankfully for us enthusiasts, Chevy took the hard route of a clean sheet design. And by clean sheet, we mean a complete 180 away from the traditional pushrod cross-plane V8. Nope, the 706 has a 5.5-liter dual overhead cam V8 with a flat-plane crankshaft known as the LT6. What's the big deal with a flat-plane crank, you may be wondering? We'll get to that in just a sec, but first, please click that subscribe button below to follow the empty garage along our automotive adventures. Okay, so here's why everyone in Autodom is freaking out about the flat-plane crank in the C8 Z06. For starters, LT6 V8 laughs at the saying, "There's no replacement for displacement," by dropping from 6.2 liters, which the previous Z06 displaced, to 5.5 liters. It also kicked forced induction to the curb in favor of the aspiration au naturel approach. So to best the C7 Z06 in horsepower, the LT6 would need to really rip. And that's where the flat-plane crankshaft comes in. Due to relatively low inertia compared with a pushrod cross-plane setup, the flat-plane crank train and dual overhead cam configuration can rev up faster and higher to make serious power. Higher as in a red line of 8,600 RPM with a sound that can be described as an aural orchestra of circular saws pinned wide open. Of course, getting there required a few slick tricks from the Chevy engineering folks. Highlights include an intake manifold with 3 tuning valves that enable variable volume so that airflow can be optimized throughout the RPM range. Then there's the CNC machine combustion chambers and intake ports that support a fully mechanical finger follower valve train. The fuel injectors move to the exhaust side of the cylinders to aid high-speed air and fuel mixing. The intake valves and connecting rods are made of titanium to keep reciprocating mass to a minimum, and the 4x2x1 stainless steel exhaust headers are metalwork masterpieces all by themselves. Should we go on? Okay, we will. This powertrain is rated for 670 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque, making it the most powerful naturally aspirated V8 fitted to production car ever. A Tremec 8-speed dual-clutch automatic routes that power to the rear wheels, and like most everything on the Z06, it has been beefed up versus the Stingray to support all this track attack ferocity. The headlining stat of that ferocity is of course the 2.6-second rocket ride to 60 miles per hour, which is stupid fast. But the Z06's real party trick is unveiled on the track. In fact, justification for a mid-engine configuration on the C8 Corvette was not for the base Stingray. It certainly works wonders in that model, but according to Corvette's chief engineer Taj Junkter, the Vette went mid-engine to support the Z06. No surprise then that Chevy's engineers went wild with Z06 development. For starters, the Z06 chassis also underpins the C8R race car. No big deal, that machine has only been kicking ass and taking names for the past 3 years, so they knew the Z06 had a reasonably good starting point. #sarcasm. In Z06 form, the chassis has stiffer powertrain mounts versus the Stingray to enable whip-cracking shifts. A short long-arm double wishbone suspension is fitted at all 4 corners with magnetic ride control dampeners. We could dedicate an entire YouTube channel to the wonders of those Magnetor heliological fluid-filled tubes of magic, but suffice it to say, they take handling to a whole different level. The spring rates are up 30% over the Stingray, and did we mention the Z06 brakes? Picture a large pizza pie and then add another inch or so to the diameter and you'll have a good idea of how big the brakes are on the Z06. Specifically, they are 14.6 inches up front and an even 15 inches out back. That is enormous. Opt for the Z07 package and they magically transform into even larger carbon ceramic rotors. Brembo handles braking while Michelin takes care of the tires. Oh, and those tires. In regular Z06 spec, the Michelin Pilot sports 4S rubber, measures 275 mm wide up front and 345 mm out back. For our non-metric viewers, 345 mm translates to 13.6 inches. We'll just let that sink in for a second. Want even more? You can select carbon fiber rims, size 20 up front and 21 out back like the stock wheels, to save a claimed 41 pounds in unsprung weight. And the Z07 package swaps the standard rubber for Pilot Sport Cup 2R tires that are the same size but have a larger tread void area. In other words, barely street legal slicks. To house all that beef, the Z06 receives brawny fenders that make it nearly 4 inches wider than a Stingray. But that's not all. Unique front and rear fascia accommodates more heat exchangers, as do the punched-up side air intakes. That screaming V8 has cooling needs that must be met. All the way out back, spoilers range from a just about right adjustable setup to bonkers carbon fiber wings. And let us not forget the quadruple exhaust tips lined up in a nice neat row underneath. They are part of a killer exhaust system that is designed with the rear fascia to reflect some of the aural symphony blasting out of them back up towards the cockpit. Unlike a typical active exhaust system with on or off valving, this trick system can adjust its valves in 2-degree increments, which means you can shut her down to creep out the driveway without pissing off the neighbors, or set it to track mode and scare the bejesus out of unsuspecting passers-by. Before we wrap up, a couple more notable tidbits about the C8 Z06. For maximum peacocking, be sure to go for the adrenaline red cockpit that turns almost every interior surface fire engine red. Don't miss the carbon fiber aero package that turns up, or is it down, the force to over 700 pounds at 186 miles per hour. There's a convertible version, and please order yours in cacti green with bronze wheels. Please. Finally, get out your magnifying glass to find a claimed 54 rocket ship Easter eggs on the motor in a nod to Project Gemini and NASA's historical Corvette connection. Okay, we'll wrap it up, but man, there's so much exciting engineering and track-centric technology going on with the C8 Corvette Z06. It'll be hard for me to stop frothing at the mouth once I'm done reading this. Until next time, we at the Empty Garage thank you for watching.